Hello and welcome to Voices Unheard, produced by Unicorns.LIVE. I'm your host, Jessica Samuels, and thank you for joining us as we once again represent some underrepresented voices here in our community. And my guest this evening is...
Hi, I'm Robert Verigin, and I'm just an old queen.
We have so much to talk about, and the preamble prior to the show was interesting, so I'm glad all of you are joining us tonight, and I can't wait to get into it. But before we do, I'd like to take a moment to acknowledge that we live, work, and play on the ancestral, traditional, and unceded lands of the Okanagan Nation and the Syilx people. I would like to say thank you to the Canada Kelowna Hotel and Conference Centre for providing this space once again here this evening. I would like to say thank you to sponsors as well, Kelowna Pride and Castanet Media. Okay, just an old queen. What does that mean?
Well, it just means an old queen. I don't know. You asked me if I wanted to say something, and I didn't know what to say because I'm just me. And I'm just here to be me, and maybe somebody will catch something and say, oh yeah, that happened to me, or if they learn a little bit about what I went through and what they're going through. I just want to help some kids to know that no matter what, things are going to get better. I mean, and nowadays it's so much better than it was when I was younger. So I'm just here because I'm here. Hi.
Hi. When we were talking just before we got started, and we give pronouns on this show,
right.
and my pronouns are she and her, and I made a note to say, okay, yeah, give your pronouns, and you said,
you can call me whatever you want to call me, because to me it's just another label as being gay or lesbian or transgendered or transsexual or whatever you want to be. It's a he, a she, an it, a they, a them. Whatever you want to call, make you feel comfortable is all that matters.
Right.
That's all that matters.
And so pronouns, you don't...
It doesn't matter to me what they call me.
Right.
And if I make a mistake when I speak to somebody, please forgive me. I'm old.
Well, I find though generally the community is that if you misspeak, as long as you're doing it from a place of authenticity.
Yeah.
Then, okay, so but old queen is what you prefer?
I mean, maybe it's something that we used to use when I was younger.
Okay.
When we saw somebody who was older, we just called them an old queen. It was just a saying from back then.
So it's a term of endearment.
Endearment most of the time. Well, it depends on how you say it.
Right. Again, is it coming from a place of authenticity?
Exactly.
Okay, can we talk about how old you are?
I'm 68 and very proud of it.
Right. That is, you've had a whole life and a whole series of events and stories, and I really want to get into it because, or not.
Some of them you're not going to hear.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
Yeah, that'll be the post show, the post production, the cuts. Where can we start?
Wherever you like.
Where did you grow up?
I grew up in a very small village in the Slocan Valley between Castlegar and Nelson in the Kootenays, West Kootenays. It was a very small place. My elementary school was 2 rooms. We had an outhouse.
Oh,
We
wow.
did not have interplumbing. And my high school had 265 students when I graduated. That was the whole school from 7 to 12.
Okay.
So I come from a very small place.
Right. And how did that impact you growing up? And
It was a great place to grow up because everybody knew everybody, and everybody was, if let's say you're a kid and you went for a bike ride and you could have been 2 miles away, and if you fell off and hurt yourself, you could go to any door and knock on it because those people knew who you were.
Right.
So it was a very safe place to be.
right.
I was different, and as I got a little older, then it showed a bit more.
At what age?
Well, kindergarten.
A bit older was kindergarten?
Well, I mean, that's when people ask, when did you know that you were different? Well, I remember in kindergarten, our school was near a swamp, and all the boys wanted to go and climb in the trees and get dirty and catch frogs, and I just went, ew. let me play hopscotch and skip rope with the girls. And it's just the way I felt at the time. And that's the way I went through my whole life.
When was the label put on you?
In high school.
Okay.
They called me femme. That was all of them
Femme?
called me. Everybody called me femme. Maybe because I was feminine or acted feminine, the way I moved. I don't know. But it wasn't horrible. It wasn't like they were being extremely nasty. There were a couple, but it was that's just what they called me. And it didn't bother me.
As a label, a name that you just took on?
Just another label. Exactly. Just another label.
Okay. When did it start to change into something that was not as manageable?
Oh, goodness. When did it change? When I finished high school, I went to hairdressing college. And because my father was not crazy about the way I acted, he kept asking me when I was going to act normal. And I said, what is normal? And he said, well, like everybody else. I said, well, what's normal for everybody else might not be normal for me. It's like, you eat breakfast the minute you wake up. If I eat breakfast when I woke up, I'd throw up because my stomach didn't like it at the beginning. So who's normal, you or me? And that was my answer to him, and he never said it again. But then he outed me when I was 18.
How did he do that?
Because I told him I was gay, and he thought I was lying, so he brought every relative within driving distance to the house and asked me to tell them.
And you said?
Well, at first I said to him, I said, you don't really want me to do this? And he said yes, because he thought I was lying, and he thought I was just making this all up. So I thought, you really don't want me to do this. No, he said yes. He put me in the living room in front of everybody, and I just looked at him, and I said, okay, Dad, folks, I'm a faggot, a fairy, a queen, a pansy, whatever you want to call me, that's what I am. Well, my dad was on his knees, grabbing my pant leg, looking up and saying, please tell me you're lying. And I just looked at him and said, well, you're going to have to live with this, and so am I. And I walked out. And I have not spoken to most of my relatives since. They haven't spoken to me since.
Wow.
So that's when it really changed.
Right. Yeah. And it was verbal. It was real. It was something that wasn't...
it was very real. It was very real.
But how does that make you feel? I mean, the proud age that you are, and that moment fundamentally changed your relationship with your family.
It changed my whole life. Completely changed my life. In one way, it was very bad because I had people wanting to beat me up. I had people wanting to kill me. I had people just say that to you, you should be dead.
In
people I knew, I went to high school with, that were people that never really bothered me, but then because it was open, and we're talking back in the dark ages, it was it was hurtful. But then what do? I had to leave, so I just moved away and went to the big city.
Which was?
Vancouver.
And was that like, wow?
Well, I used to go there because my cousins, before I told everybody, my cousins used to live there, and when I was younger, I used to go to Vancouver and visit with them for a couple weeks, and just wandered the West End because they lived in the West End. And you saw different things, and you did see people that you felt were gay, or you didn't really know, but you thought they might be, and it just gave me some freedom. I'm not the only one, and it was freeing, but it was very scary too.
You were the only one back in your hometown.
Well, I thought that I wasn't.
Well,
And I didn't find that out till I was well into my 30s.
Okay, right. So outwardly open when you were in Vancouver to see people who were kind of...
It was very eye-opening.
Life-changing?
Yes, very much so. Because when I left, I was told that don't phone me for anything because now that you're leaving the house, you're on your own now. Well, it was pretty tough when you didn't have a job. But I did have savings because, believe it or not, I did work in a sawmill. I was butch at one point. And I saved my money, because I lived at home.
Okay. And
so, yeah.
I just got a vision of you in the sawmill.
Can you see me in a sawmill, but I was in a sawmill.
Sorry. Okay. So you worked in the sawmill, you saved your money, and this is how you survived in Vancouver. So you had savings.
For a while, because I didn't have a lot of money, but you had to find a place to live and survive.
And so what did that look like? How long were you in Vancouver for?
2 weeks.
Oh,
I got invited to a dinner party by none other than Miss Ted North, who was, I didn't know who he was, but he was quite the person. And going to the, I went with somebody who was invited as their guest. And while I was there, being 18 and not, I mean, I've never been around gay people, so you're at this dinner and there's some very good-looking people at this dinner party, and not knowing how to act. Because you never were around other people, you didn't know how to act with other people. So I guess the hand on the knee underneath the table kind of settled it.
and this was,
Somebody that I met ended asking me to go to visit them, and I ended up in Seattle.
okay, 2 weeks in Vancouver,
Yep.
and then in Seattle. I mean, this is whirlwind. This is, it sounds like you went, I was going to say from the frying pan into the fire.
Literally.
Yeah. But you're laughing. You loved it? Were you loving every minute of it?
Let's just say that if this not happened to me, I would not be the person I am, because everything happens in your life. You learn from everything you do. And some of the things I did at that age were really stupid. I mean, very stupid. I mean, most 18-year-olds think they know everything, but I didn't know anything.
Anything you can safely share with us here?
Well,
That's what I thought.
let's just say that I'm not proud of everything I've done.
Well, and actually, I want to get into a little bit of this. So you moved to Seattle. Around what year was this?
Oh, don't ask me years. I can't remember
Okay.
my name half the time. Years. It had to be.
You were how old?
I was 18, 19,
Okay.
somewhere in there.
Okay. So still early days. And what was the scene like in Seattle?
Well, the age to go into the bars then was 21, so I couldn't get in there, and I was a baby-faced kid.
Okay.
I looked young. So the fellow that I had met in Vancouver, and I was supposed to go for a weekend, and it ended up for over a year and something. And I was there illegally, so I couldn't work. And everybody was coming from there to Canada to escape the Vietnam War, and I'm going into the States, right? It was kind of silly. So they never bothered me when I kept going back, because I kept going back and forth.
Okay.
And yeah, it was interesting.
Right. Now I'm going to go back to a conversation that you and I had prior to this.
Okay.
And you had mentioned that you were dating a black man.
Yes.
Is this relationship that you're talking
Yes, the one
about?
from Seattle, yeah.
Yeah, right. Now, what was it like to be in a mixed gay relationship? What was it?
No different than any other relationship as far as I'm concerned.
Well, and fair enough. What was it? I guess what's the larger element of discrimination? Is it that you were in a gay relationship or you were in a mixed relationship from obviously the non-gay community?
But then back then also, it wasn't like it is now. We weren't quite as open and running around and holding, like it was.
Okay.
It was the beginning of the Stonewall had happened, and
Yes.
and it was all that we were picketing and stuff, but it wasn't like it is now. You had to watch how you acted and
Right.
stuff like that. Still, I was in a big city. I was very lucky because this young man's parents, he lived with his parents, and they just welcomed me and told me their names, but said, "You're going to call us mom and dad if you're living under our roof."
They knew why you
that
were
was
there.
very interesting to deal with when I'd never seen a black person before him. I'd seen him on TV and books, but I'd never met one. Sorry. It's sad that people do not let themselves go out there and meet people that aren't like them. I guess because I was always attracted to somebody that didn't look like me. I didn't care if they were black, South Asian, East Asian. I didn't care if they were Oriental. They didn't look like me, and that's what attracted me to them. Physically, mentally, I was attracted to that. So it bothers me when people won't say, well, they're a gay person, I don't want anything to do with them, or they're Muslim, or they're Pakistani, or they're whatever the case may be. You have to get to know that person. That's one of the good things my dad did teach me.
Well, that's interesting.
Yeah, he taught me that. When I was younger, one time we found some arrowheads along the river when we were floating down the river, and I brought it home. I was really proud of this arrowhead, and I showed it to me. He said, "Where'd you get that?" So I told him, he said, "You take it back right where it was." And I said, "Why?" And he said, "Well, that's their burial grounds, and you're taking things from their burial grounds. You shouldn't do that. You take it back." Well, being a young kid, I turned around and said something nasty, I'm sure, and I got a backhand upside my head. And he just looked at me, and I will never forget his words. He said, "Do you never say anything about another human being? I don't care if they're black, white, red, or purple with yellow stripes. Don't you ever say anything till you get to know them. There's always a rotten apple in every barrel, but doesn't mean any of the other, a few others might be a little bit touched by that rotten person, but everybody else isn't. So don't ever do that." And that stuck with me. That stuck.
Very insightful words from your father.
Yes. Yeah.
Seems like a bit of a juxtaposition because...
But I was fairly young. I was 13, maybe 14 when that happened.
So things changed when
Well,
you got
yeah,
older and
yeah.
you said, "I'm gay."
Mm-hmm.
Did you, I would imagine that you would have hoped that same understanding came
That's
to...
what I was hoping, but it didn't work.
Right, yeah. Well, so why do you think you are strongly attracted to people that don't look like you?
I have no clue. It's somewhere in my psyche somewhere. I have no clue. I just am. Mm-hmm. I've always liked somebody with dark hair and darker skin. Yeah, it's just the way it is. Everybody's attracted to whatever they're attracted to. Some people are attracted to younger people. Some people are attracted to older people. Some people like drag queens, some don't. It's whatever your personal preference is. Mm-hmm. You just don't put somebody down in the process, though. I mean, that's not good.
So you're in Seattle. Mm-hmm. You're dating or with a black man, living in his parents' house. They knew why you were there. They knew that you guys were together.
Oh, yes.
And
they were very cool.
I would say so.
Very cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, a little white boy like me living in the black ghetto was quite interesting. Very interesting.
Okay.
I was called a few names by some of the black people. Yeah. Because I was in their territory. Mm-hmm. And it was a little scary, but then of course, like I said, I was 19 maybe or so, and I just thought, yeah, whatever, and just let it go off my back. So I never really had any major problems there. It was a very big learning experience.
Yeah. And you were there for a year and a half, you said?
Approximately. I don't remember exact dates and stuff because everything just blurs together when you get older.
And from there, where did you go?
I lived there for those times, and then I went back to Vancouver, and I was there for, I don't remember, 10 years, 7. I don't remember exactly how many years I was in Vancouver. And when I was 28, I moved back home and actually moved in with my parents.
Wow. So how did that come about?
Because at the time I lived in Vancouver, I went from a room above a junk store and worked my way up to a penthouse in the West End. 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom penthouse in the West End, right near Stanley Park. And it rented for $458 a month.
My goodness.
And overnight, they took the rent freeze off in Vancouver, and that apartment went from that price to $1,200.
Oh, wow.
Well, I'm not going back down.
Yeah.
I worked hard to get up from living in a junk store to there. And I said, okay, now I just have to go home and start all over again and see where it goes from there.
So talk me through that process. You had not spoken with your family, or
oh no,
had
I
you?
spoke with my parents.
Okay.
I went home for Christmas and stuff. They weren't the funnest times, but
Okay.
oh no, we never.
Oh, okay.
There were a year or so where we didn't speak, and then my sisters were younger, and then one got married and said, "You got to come to the weddings." Okay.
Right. So
and
there were.
So you. Oh no, there was. But we didn't. I don't think my dad and I really started talking again till the pandemic.
Oh.
Our pandemic.
What do you mean by your pandemic?
Or AIDS pandemic, the gay pandemic.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify. That's
Yeah.
what I thought, because we are in the midst of another pandemic.
Exactly.
Right? So, okay. So you Seattle, Vancouver, Seattle, back to Vancouver, then back to small town Slocan.
You betcha.
What was that adjustment like for you? Because I mean, certainly it's not like how it is today, like you mentioned in terms of the freedom of expression, but you would have a bit of a difference between these larger cities and the smaller communities, I would expect.
Yes, but then time went on and I met people. When I left the Coonies, I didn't know anybody else that was gay at the beginning.
Yeah.
And then when I was in Vancouver the second time, a cousin of mine who I did not know was gay brought his boyfriend and asked if I would talk to the boss to get him a job. So I said, okay. So we did, and it didn't work out. But at least I knew this person, and every time I went home, I made a point to go to where he worked just to say hello. Because I thought, okay, if I have to, I know one other person here. So when I moved back, at least I knew one other person that then I thought, well, they must know other people, and through them, I will be able to make another network of people. And at the beginning, we only knew of 4 of us. So the 4 of us hung out all the time. For years, we just hung out. And then all of a sudden, we each met somebody. And then it was 4 couples that hung around.
Right. Building your own community.
Building, and then other people slowly started. Somebody said, oh, we met this other couple, and then you started meeting other people and we're talking towns that are 45 minutes apart.
Right.
I mean, we were all over the place. So.
Right.
Yep.
So we're going through this frame, and kind of why I was asking you about timelines is it was part of chatting with you and my research, and I think it's historically some really interesting things were going on, right? And you mentioned Stonewall and the riots. And so there's this transformation, this revolution when it came to, at the time, gay and lesbian individuals. That's what those were kind of the groups that were leading that transformation. And this was significant, obviously significant across the world, and really changed the way that we created the path for the way that we talk about and incorporate the Pride community in everything we do.
Right.
Did you feel a sense of jubilation and celebration? Like, I wonder, when you're in the moment of revolution or evolution or transformation, do you know that this is the moment, this is the turning point, this is the tipping point, or are you just head down in it?
I don't think there is a tipping point. I think we still have a long ways to go. But you have to start somewhere. And I just happened to be there at that point. So you did what other people did. I mean, when the Harvey Milk started, it woke us up in Seattle like crazy. So we then in Seattle started going, and I'm thinking to myself, why am I doing this? Because if they arrest me, I will never be able to come back to the United States again because I'm here illegally. But I didn't care. I just said, I got to fight for what I believe in. So I was just out there with everybody else, and then you moved to Vancouver, and it just continued, and it just evolves. It evolves constantly.
And it was an incredible evolution and went on for quite some time. And then sadly, in the way that I perceive it, is there was a cloud forming, and that cloud was your pandemic, is what you were talking about. So we're talking AIDS, HIV.
Yes.
And that came really on the heels of a lot of that.
I think we really started hearing about it 82, 83.
Yeah.
And I remember, this is the funniest part, I remember my dad saying to me, what do you know about this AIDS thing? I says, probably as much as you do. We're just starting to get information. We don't really know that much yet. Well, if you have anything on it, I want to read it. I said, well, some of the magazines I don't think you want to see. He said, I don't want to look at the pictures. I want to read the articles. And I did. I gave him the magazines, and he read everything. And I think what it was is, I think because I'm his only son, I had 2 sisters, he thought that I was going to go because it's a gay plague and we're all dying.
Yeah.
And it scared him. And that's when his transformation started. That's when he started saying, okay, well, you're my son, and you're part of me, so we're going to get through this together. And he became a different person, and we became friends again.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. And how were those magazines talking about HIV? And was it different than what, like?
They were we were just getting information that there were so many cases in New York and LA and all of these bigger cities in the States. I mean, we weren't really hearing much. It was just the beginning. It was like you were hearing people are dying, but you didn't really know what was going on. We really had no clue. It was just this thing was happening.
Do you think it was possible to impact you where you were, a little town BC?
Well, it could impact you anywhere. I was very lucky because during that whole time I was in a monogamous relationship, and I was very lucky because I was promiscuous before that, but by then I'm already 30 or so. So you're not as promiscuous. I don't think when you're a little older, because you've gone through all that stuff as you're younger. And so I was very lucky because I was not promiscuous at that point, and I'd already been with my partner for 5 years. So yet you felt a little safer, but you were still scared.
And then at what point did it impact you and your community directly?
When you started hearing people that you knew
Yeah.
were dying. And the worst was you heard it one day and they were gone the next day. Not like some of my friends who have gone almost 30 years being HIV positive and not dying. Back then, they were dying, literally dropping like flies. It was horrible.
I think that's an important distinction
Horrible.
because, and let me know if this is not a fair characterization, but HIV/AIDS is a chronic disease now. It's an autoimmune chronic disease. That's not how it started out.
No.
It started out, like you said, people dying. And so with chronic disease, you can live with it your entire life. That was not how that happened.
No.
And so when people you knew were dropping like flies, to use your words, what changed for you?
My perspective of life, it became more important. People became more important. Your friends became more important. You weren't quite so flippant about things. Things became more important. The people that you cared about became way more important to you because you were worried that you were going to lose them. And the ones you did lose, it was such a shock that I remember one of my best friends, he said to me one day, he said, I can't even cry anymore. I've cried so much, I can't cry anymore. I'm cried out because there were so many. And it was worse when it was somebody you knew really well. I mean, I look around this room and the people I know here, I know some of them to say hello to, but I don't really know them as human beings. And if I lost one of them, it would upset me. But when you have one of your really good friends that you hang out with and go to your, out to the nightclubs or whatever you do together, when one day they're fine and the next day they say, well, I've tested positive, and a month later they're gone, it changes how you think about things. It really changes how you think about things. And the pandemic we're having now is absolutely horrid. And the people that don't believe it have not probably had somebody close to them get really sick or die. But when that happens, you will believe it. That's when you really believe it.
And some of those feelings that you had during the AIDS and HIV pandemic, are you drawing some parallels now with those feelings?
Oh yes, oh yeah. It's yes, you can't. It's interesting because when you hear it and you start thinking, oh my gosh, we're going through. This is global. I mean, it was global before, but it was in the gay lifestyle and the drug addicts but it didn't affect the world. So I think at the beginning they didn't take it seriously. It affected us, but it didn't affect them, as if you're going to put it in any way. But when it affects everybody, then it's like it affects you. It really affects you. So yes, I'm having a few feelings from before, and emotions pop up.
Yeah, I bet they do.
Yeah.
And another parallel I was thinking, and why I was asking you about being in the midst of living within a revolution, I'd just be interested in your thoughts right now, because you had an emotional response earlier about not wanting to get to know people that are different. So whether they are gay, lesbian, in the Pride community, or whether people of color, or what have you. What are your feelings about what is going on right now in the world outside of the pandemic?
Well, to me, some of the stuff that's happening is totally disgusting. Black Lives Matter. And it being somebody that has lived with Black people and has had partners that were of African American, I cannot comprehend it. I guess maybe my upbringing, I cannot comprehend how people can dislike somebody else just because of the color of their skin. It doesn't compute in my brain. Mm-hmm. The computer just says, delete, delete.
Yeah, doesn't register.
No.
Right. I've talked to a couple other people who were part of different times in history, whether it's the women's liberation revolution or whatever, and asked the same question. Did you know you were in this moment of transformation for the world? And the response was the same. You just kind of did it. You did it because it felt right. And it makes me think about what's going on right now.
Exactly.
You know, will we look back 10 years from now and say, this is a tipping point, the tipping point, turning point? Or are we just doing what is right?
We have to do what's right for yourself and for everybody else. Mm-hmm. What you believe is right. Mm-hmm. I can't change somebody's mind if they don't want to do the things that are going to protect themselves and the people they care about. I can't do anything about them. And I think it's up to everybody to decide what is right for them. But if you make the wrong decision, then you're the one that's going to have to live with it. Like, we all have made decisions that we think, oh, that was the dumbest thing I could have done. But I also learned from it, and I never did it again. So if you don't go through, unfortunately, something like this is so big. I have friends in Cuba. I go to Cuba every year. And they are locked down. They cannot leave their province. They are stuck. And they've kept most, not all, but most of their cases in one province. I have a friend that wanted to leave to go to the other side, because it's all in Havana area. Mm-hmm. He wanted to go to the other side of the island because that's where his mother lives, in the mountains, and he wanted to go there because he felt safe. He had to go through 4 COVID tests before they let him leave. It took over 2 months before he was allowed to go. He is so happy he's up in the mountains right now because he says, I feel safe. I don't have to worry about as much. Mm-hmm. So that's what he did to protect himself. Mm-hmm. And I have a boyfriend down there, and he did the same. His father got sick in another province, and there was nobody to take care of him. So he got special permission to go to take care of him. But he was sequestered in the hospital his father was in for 16 days before they let him out. He couldn't even go outside. He had to stay in the hospital. So people do things differently there than we do here. So as far as I'm concerned, to put a little piece of something on your face to walk into a store to protect somebody just because you might have something wrong with you is a no-brainer. Mm-hmm. That's just my viewpoint. Mm-hmm. I mean, everybody has their viewpoint, but that's my viewpoint.
Right.
Because if you do get sick and they have to put that intubation thing down your throat, it's going to feel a heck of a lot worse than that silly little piece of material over your nose.
Right. Well, and I am reading from you that having been through one pandemic and doing what you needed to do to keep safe, this is why you're here, and you're joining us, and you're, this lovely age and sharing these words of wisdom. I made it through
that one pandemic. I'm going to make it through this one too, honey.
Okay. Well, good.
I am making it through this one.
I don't know how to gracefully segue into this. I got nothing. No, but let's talk about drag performing, okay? Because, or not. We can talk
No,
about
you
something
can talk
else.
about whatever you want to talk about, girl. My life's an open book.
Okay.
I don't care.
Well, talk about what is your performance name?
Sophona Dick.
Right. And how did that name come about?
A friend gave it to me.
Okay. Is there some significance there that I'm...
No.
Oh, okay.
Because I said I want a name that's not like a first name. I don't want something that's very common. And I heard somebody's name, it was similar to it, but it was Ophelia or something like that.
Right.
And I went, oh, that's kind of funky. So then this one came out, so, oh yeah, I can be Sophie. So what's going to be my last name? And then he just popped up with this. Then I went, okay, sounds good to me. It's a good way to open up a show if you're the MC. You just say, I'm Sophona. Hi, I'm Sophona Dick, and I know some of you are too. That was always the opening line to my show if I was doing a show.
Icebreaker.
That's a good one. Gets everybody to laugh. That's all that matters.
It does.
You have to laugh.
Lightens the room. Well, you do. And so what came first, the name or the idea of performing?
Oh, I've had so many different drag names. This is my last one. The last one.
Did each name have a different person?
When murder mysteries were popular way back when, my name at that point was Anita Mann. And they had a murder mystery, and they killed that. And they found her laying on the floor with knives sticking out of her back. So I had to get rid of that name because they killed her.
Okay.
So it's just, you do what you got to do.
Now, what I want to know is Anita Mann died, and with that, did her personality, is there a new persona?
Oh, yes, ma'am, it did. A worse personality came out.
Are these worst elements of your personality deep down inside?
Probably.
Are they your true you?
No.
Okay.
No. I'm much nicer than my drag persona is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh. We have some people who think otherwise. Okay, so talk about your persona now then.
It's hard to explain because Dustin and I have talked about this before, and I remember when he asked me to do drag, and I hadn't done it for years because I don't like to get dressed up.
Wait, what?
I do not like to be dressed up. I like the performing aspect of it.
Oh, okay.
I love being on stage, and I love being that clown. But to put all that makeup on, it's uncomfortable. It's not something I enjoy, except to me now, all of a sudden, I'm a clown. I just happen to be wearing women's garments, but I'm not. I don't know. I don't like the feel of it.
Well, couldn't you do it without the makeup and the costume?
No, because Sophona wouldn't be Sophona with all that junk on her face.
Okay.
So it's different than most of the female impersonators, drag queens, whatever they want to call themselves, enjoy dressing up. I've never enjoyed dressing up. I was forced to it at the beginning because when I was in Seattle, I could not get into the bars because I was 21. And I was 19. I looked it. So somebody said, we're going to dress you up. And I went, no, you're not. They said, yeah, we are. And it took them a month to gather everything they needed. And one night they just sat me down and dressed me up and took me to the bar that I always wanted to get into, the most popular one. And they walked me in, sat me down at the bar, and I was scared. I must have been shaking like a leaf. And the bartender walked over and said, what can I get you? And I ordered my drink, and that was that. So if I wanted to go out, I had to dress up. Mm-hmm. So to me, it was something I had to do, not something I wanted to do.
Right.
And so it never became something I really enjoyed. Once I'm dressed up, let's go. We're going to have a good time. But I don't like the process.
Okay. But you're still performing?
I haven't since, I think, Roslyn, when we did Peak Pride, I think was the last time I performed. Well, because of all the pandemic, I'm at that age group where it's a little scarier. Mm-hmm. I don't have any underlying problems, so I'm going to be a bit cautious.
Right.
And it's not necessary for me. There's a lot of queens out there that can do this stuff.
But you're not retired.
Oh, Sophona won't let me. Every once in a while, that little voice goes, look at that dress. I don't want to look at that little dress. I don't want to look at that stuff. And then she makes me drag it out, and then my house looks like a drag queen threw up in it. And then I'm standing there going, now I got to put all this junk back.
How
So,
much
yeah.
stuff do you have?
Too much. Oh, too much.
Decades of performing.
No, you know, it's funny. Every time I stopped, I got rid of everything.
Oh,
Everything but your bases. I kept the basic stuff because that's the most expensive.
what's the basics?
Well, your undergarments, you
Okay.
know, your wigs, your jewelry. But the clothing and stuff, I gave most of it away. And then it's like somebody said, well, let's do it. And it's like, oh, I guess I better go find something. So yeah, it's like I said, it's not like some of the queens in town here, because they really enjoy it. And I love watching them, and they're very good at what they do, but they like it and I don't. So
Right.
it's for me to do it, I have to get my mind into it and then go out and do it.
Ease into it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a bit different.
So I know we skipped over a bunch of time, but you've been in Kelowna now for how long?
We moved to Lake Country.
Lake
I
Country.
left I moved to the Kootenays in 1980. Met my partner in 81. He passed away in 90, and no, not of AIDS.
Okay.
So then I was kind of lost for a few years. And then I met somebody from Kamloops. We dated for a year, and then I moved to Kamloops. And from Kamloops, we came to Lake Country because he found a job here, and been here ever since. So that was 90. Yeah, so I've been since 99.
And what have you noticed about the scene in I guess the Okanagan Kootenay region in the
Well, compared to when I came here first, a little different.
yeah.
Yeah, it's any of the younger people that are living here that think there's nothing for them, you should have been where I was when I was your age. There is so much here. There's so much for them to do. They could be so much freer, and it gets better. It all gets better. You know, as you get older, it's going to get better. And I'm happy to be where I'm at. I'm looking forward to hitting 70. And you know, it's just a number. It is a number, and people have to get past that. Oh, I'm turning 30. My gay life is over. No, it ain't. It's just starting, honey.
Why
You
is
just starting. The best is yet to come.
is that is there a larger implication within the gay
Well,
lifestyle?
because it's all youth oriented. It's like, I mean, if you don't look a certain way, or it's youth, and it's just the way it is. So, but you have to get past that. Once you get a little older and you start making friends and making a life for yourself, all that you start getting to say, you know, I don't care if you don't like me because I'm old, or I don't care if you don't like me because I don't dance well, or I don't, you know, if I've got a little bit of a paunch or I've got some gray in my hair. You don't like me, you don't like me. It's your loss.
Right.
That's my viewpoint in life.
Well, wise words for any community.
Just be yourself. Be yourself. And if somebody likes you, great. If they don't, well, you can't make somebody like you.
I mean, I think that, and I do want to, you know, kind of wrap this up, but I do think that you have been through so much, and it's part of what you've gone through that has led you to where you are here today, and this display of resilience, and to say things get better. And they do, clearly they do, and we know things do get better, and that there are people out there and community out there and people that want to help no matter what you're facing. But think about some of those times when you were one of you thought only in small Slocan Valley. Like, what were some real things that you can impart right now to people who are watching, who are struggling, regardless of what they're struggling with? Because I think that you have some great words, wisdom, thoughts, advice, whatever.
Oh, well, when you go through all sorts of stuff, like I said, you learn things from it. I mean, when you grow up in a little community where everybody would, if you wanted to play softball and you would just grab any kid. Didn't matter how old they were, didn't matter what sex they were, didn't matter. We needed so many people, and you just grab them and you'd play because you wanted to play. So I think when you get a little older, you get to the point it's like, okay, I've met all these nice people, and I'm just grateful. I'm very grateful to this community, to any community that I have been involved with, because I've learned something from them. I've made very good friends. I'm not the most, outgoing person. I may sound it and act it, but I have anxiety. I have a bit of depression too. But you can't let that take over. You have to at some point say, no, this is what I want, this is what I'm going to do, and this is what's going to happen. And I don't care whether you're from a small town or you're from a big city of New York or wherever you are. You can do whatever you want to do, but you have to go and do it. And you're going to make mistakes. You're going to fall flat on your face, and you're going to get up, and you're going to just keep running going.
Well, I'm grateful for you and for you
Thank
sharing
you
your
for having
story
me here. I appreciate this.
It was great.
Sorry,
it
it
was
got a little
enlightening.
emotional there.
No, it's all good. It's real, and that's why we're here. Thank you to everyone for watching Voices Unheard, produced by Unicorns.LIVE. I'd like to say thank you to Kelowna Canada Hotels and Conference Centre for hosting us here, as well as Kelowna Pride and Castanet Media. We are taking a 1-week break, so we will be on pause, and we will return with the show in 2 weeks from tonight. I can't wait to see you. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.